Happy Thursday, guys. It's Matt from Train Sim Society, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So I'm a couple days late on this now. There were a few other things I wanted to cover and talk about, but earlier this week, we covered week 1 of Season of Reveals. We received the US root announcement with High Iron Simulations Hayden branch. I gotta say, I'm actually pretty excited for this one. Was not a big fan of their first TSW project, but who knows, maybe they can turn things around with a brand new root and something created from scratch. We also got a new German root from a brand new developer, Foliage World. We received the Birmingham to Crew patch, which from my own experience has been better, but I am seeing a lot online about a lot of issues still persisting. I'm probably going to cover that in more detail in a future video. And I specifically told you guys in the video from earlier this week, not really in the video, but in the comment I pinned for it, that I would be skipping just one thing, the winter survey, because it deserved its own video and there is so much to unpack here. It definitely deserves its own highlight. It closes on December 14th, so you have about a week and a half from when this video goes up. I will have a link to it both in the description box as well as pinned in the comments, so please go fill it out. It is a bit lengthy. It should probably take you about 30 to 40 minutes. It took me close to an hour to fill out just because I was really going slow and trying to give accurate details. We don't get a survey like this very often, so I wanted to make sure that it was done right. I've also been following a lot of community discussion on the forums and on the DTG Discord server, which I will have linked in the description. And a lot of players are sharing the same concerns that I am about some of these questions here. So first, to get things started, this survey covers a lot of ground: demographics, platform questions, how you got into TSW6. There's a section rating TSW6 specifically, favorite root, loco, feature. They ask you to rate performance across categories like frame rate, crashing, texture quality, and loading times. There's a content rating section where you score every root, loco add-on and gameplay pack released this year. Notable omission: Birmingham to Crew and the Class 805 aren't on this list. JD acknowledged that was his mistake since he wrote the questions before those released. So those may be in the survey now if it was updated. But beyond that, there are sections on UI frustrations, upcoming content, which countries you'd want more roots for, what locomotive you'd want added, camera options, settings, and accessibility. And then several sections I'll be getting into in more detail: new features, potential game modes, and technical improvements, and also some statement questions where Dovetail is clearly testing the waters on future direction. So that's the general scope. It's very comprehensive. I will say these surveys are very important. They do influence development. We've seen it before. Previous survey results have led to features like the training center and conductor mode, and more recently, random events and train faults. But I definitely feel like this survey feels a lot different from previous surveys we've received. You know, I know they're trying to gauge players. I know they're asking about new features and new things that people want, but given the state of the game right now, I feel like most players just want a working, functional game. Working and functional with the stuff we currently have before new stuff is introduced. So with all of that in mind, I want to go through which parts stood out to me the most. We first begin with the performance question, asking players to agree or disagree with this statement. In quotes, improving performance and memory optimization on Train Sim World should be Dovetail's #1 focus in the next 12 months at the expense of any new features, remasters, or other quality of life improvements. My first instinct seeing this was, why is this here? Why do we have to vote for this over other things? This should be the baseline, the absolute bare minimum. But to be fair, it has been clarified in the Q&A and on the forums that this question is more about gauging how impactful these performance issues are. They want to see who's actually experiencing problems and how severe those problems are. And Dovetail has stated multiple times that performance is their #1 priority, so I can understand the reasoning behind asking, but that still didn't change my first initial reaction to this before reading the additional context. honest. But the framing still bothers me because it shouldn't be an either or. The game should be working on the platforms it's released for. That should not require a survey question or a community vote regardless. Now, if you're on PC with a high-end system, things might be fine for you, but like I've mentioned many times, it doesn't mean that things are fine for everyone. Console players have been dealing with lots of issues, blurry textures, frame rate issues, and crashes for quite some time. If you watched my Q&A breakdown, you know how deep that texture problem goes, as it was explained in further detail there. So there was another question that I thought was pretty interesting too, that asks what features of an add-on would be most appealing to you. And the options include things like detailed scenery, accurate train physics, accurate signaling and safety system implementation, and also detail and interactivity within the cab. Again, I get why they're asking here. They want to know what players prioritize, but again, I just feel like these things should be inherent to making a train simulator. I don't even think they should be optional features that get ranked against each other, especially the accurate physics and signaling and detailed cabs. That is what a train sim is supposed to be as the bare minimum. So question 45 also includes this statement: I'd prefer less frequent content with a more in-depth gameplay experience and would be willing to pay a higher price for it. Now, the first part of this statement I completely agree with. Hands down, less frequent content with more depth, fewer rush releases, more polish, more scenarios, more timetable services, making sure that all of those things are implemented correctly. Also longer routes too, can't forget that one. All of that stuff sounds great, but the second part, willing to pay a higher price, yeah, I don't know about that one. We're already paying premium prices for this content, and if we take a look at the state that things are currently launching in, I don't think I should need to say much more. Now, before they consider increasing prices, they need to show us that they can deliver content with all of the core features included at launch and also done correctly. I want to see train faults that work, proper suspension physics, announcements that actually play and are accurate and aren't bugged, making sure all the bridges and tunnels have proper tunnel reverb, and also making sure that conductor mode is not only there but works and functions properly as well. Not to mention the blurry textures and overall optimization and performance is sorted to an acceptable level. Now, if they can do all that, if we have all our core features and things actually work, then yes, make longer routes and maybe charge a little more for them. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't want to see prices increase above the current standard until things are at least done correctly. And one common argument that comes up is the cost of living. They have to pay their employees, and all of that is valid, but also paying customers, we have lives to live and bills to pay too. And again, we're already paying a premium price for routes that launch broken. So trust has to be rebuilt before that conversation can even happen. So the survey introduced 3 potential new game modes. Shift Designer, where you design a daily shift for a driver, drive it and share it with other players through Creators Club. Freight Hauler mode, where freight cars get spotted dynamically around a route, each with a destination. You pick them up, deliver them to industries, bring cars back. It's fully dynamic and completely up to you how you complete it. That one sounds pretty interesting to me, I'm not gonna lie. And also Yard Manager mode, where AI drives the train while you run around the yard operating switches and couplers to build trains. All of this sounds really exciting to me, especially the idea of all of it when reading it here, but in actuality, I'm not really that excited. Again, if everything was working great, if new content wasn't launching broken, if routes weren't missing features and requiring months of patches, then yeah, I would be for new game modes, but we're not in that position. We all know how this would go. Those modes would probably launch very buggy. Not trying to be negative, it's just pattern recognition based on what we have seen over and over again. The survey also asks about remastering older content. Which routes would you want to see remastered? What aspects of a remaster matter most to you? The options include things like scenery refresh and adding new features from later TSW iterations, route infrastructure and performance improvements, updated sounds with TOD 4 lighting to TSW 6 standards, and also adding services from content released since the route's original launch. This is probably one of the more interesting interesting sections. Now, for a lot of roots, especially the older ones, they are showing their age. They usually do perform better, but the lighting doesn't match current standards. Features that came later were never backported, and when you're playing roots and you are playing something new and modern, you kind of get used to that experience and that standard when things are working correctly. But then when you jump back to an older root, it's a very different experience. And I think it's even more noticeable when we've had partial updates to past content, like Koln Aken, for example, where we got that amazing new timetable, but the root still looks so dated. I definitely would love to see roots get brought up to current standards, but the issue is that remasters take development resources, and if Dovetail is already stretched thin on new content and clearly QA and bug fixes, where does remaster work realistically fit in? And if remasters become a way to resell content players already own, I feel like that's also a problem as well. Now for our controversial section, the appeal of an in-game shop where rewards could be earned through gameplay or purchased directly with real money. So not the shop that we currently have where you can buy DLC from within the game or at least be linked to it, but additional rewards that you can unlock or purchase with real money. This is them testing the waters for microtransactions. I also think it's them testing the waters to see how close they can get to being Electronic Arts. Now, the way the survey was set up was pretty clever. The previous question asks what rewards would motivate you to complete mastery challenges. Extra scenarios, additional timetables, and exclusive liveries, they all sound nice, but then immediately after, the survey pivots to asking if you'd be okay with those things being purchasable for real money. Now, I do think it would be nice to be able to play and unlock some exclusive stuff, maybe some liveries, things to bring players back in and encourage them to keep playing. I think that could work nicely, but selling exclusive stuff through an in-game store, I don't think that would fare very well with the community. And look, I'm not trying to give Dovetail any ideas, but I'm a little surprised they haven't pushed a subscription model yet, given how many other games have gone that direction. I personally hope they never do. Would probably be one of the grossest moves they could make. But you know, given their business practices and patterns that are very glaringly obvious, I feel like that's something that they're gonna push towards anyway, regardless of how people vote or how they feel. Now for the monetization stuff, if you weren't able to guess, my response to this question was an emphatic no, like Bugs Bunny said in that one meme. Question 34 asked players to rate a bunch of smaller features on a scale of 1 to 10. And buried in there are some technical features that I personally voted very high on. DirectX 12 support, DLSS, DLAA, and FSR. So to put it plainly, more modern support for TSW. DLSS stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling, and DLAA stands for Deep Learning Anti-Aliasing. These are the kinds of optimizations that modern games should have, and most of them today do have. DirectX 12 offers better CPU utilization and can significantly improve performance on multi-core systems. I personally run my game on DirectX 12 using a launch command, and it has solved probably 95% of stutters, with some still remaining, but that alone really fixed problems for me, though it doesn't work for everyone. Now, DLSS and FSR use upscaling technology to boost frame rates while maintaining visual quality. The fact that TSW still doesn't have these optimizations is part of why performance is such a big problem in my opinion. If the game was better optimized, if it took advantage of current technology, players with moderate to high-end systems would see significant improvements, and it would also take some of the load off, potentially helping lower-end systems and consoles as well. You vote how you vote, but I personally voted 10 out of 10 for both of these. It would only make sense given my stance on foundational work for this game. There were also other technical features mentioned in this survey. AI trains that follow speed limits, which is a simulation accuracy issue that's bothered players forever. Steam Cloud save support, which would help with the ongoing save game issues. And the big one that forums have been asking about for years, which is more save game slots. I definitely gave that a 10 as well. I can't believe we're in the big year of 2025 and we have one single save slot, guys. It is archaic. It needs to go. Oh, you're gonna think think I'm beating a dead horse, but yeah, we're gonna talk about the yearly release cycle again. I know I've talked about this so much and I'm so tired of talking about it, but it was brought up on the survey, so we're gonna talk about it again, but I promise, okay? After this video, after this section, we aren't gonna talk about it for a very, very long time, unless there is a need to talk about it. You know, if we find out new information and whatnot. I enjoy an annual core release for Train Sim World 5. Everyone pop your confetti cannons because we absolutely love it. It's the best thing ever. Yeah, no. This is Dovetail testing whether players are okay with the yearly release model. Obviously, TSW 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we know what will come 7, 8, 9, and 10. Every year we get a new number. Every year these same conversations about what carries over, what doesn't, what's broken at launch, and also for our friends at Epic Games, what DLC you don't get on release day and have to wait months to get. Again, if you watch my Q&A breakdown video, you already know why they do this, but I really hope people are honest about this one. We all know they won't stop voluntarily. The model works financially. They will only stop if something forces their hand. Maybe console certification becomes an issue, maybe store policies change, but unless there's an external constraint, expect TSW 7 next year. So please guys, make the smart choice this holiday season. Make the right choice and vote no for yearly releases. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So overall, I think this survey tells us a lot of things. Dovetail is clearly well aware of the state of the game and that problems do exist. They obviously know that the community is frustrated, and the survey is them trying to figure out how to navigate that while maintaining their business model. The main challenge is that TSW doesn't have real competition, and I know some people argue with that point, but think about it. Yeah, other train sims exist. We have SimRail, Run 8, Derail Valley, lots of other things out there too, but they don't offer the same experience that TSW offers. They occupy completely different spaces and focus on different things. SimRail, for example, is multiplayer focused and Eastern European centric. Run 8 is an incredibly detailed sim, but has very dated graphics. TSC is Dovetail's own legacy product, and it's largely unsupported now. What TSW does have is pretty extensive coverage across countries and regions on modern Unreal Engine, and nothing else really compares in that specific way. And we also have the whole timetable system too. There really isn't anything else that compares, at least in these specific ways. And I think that's why there's no real competitive pressure forcing change. The only thing that can drive improvement is internal motivation and player feedback. So take the survey, leave your responses. If you do want to share how you voted, let me know in the comments. But of course, you don't need to share anything. That's your information, your business. But if you do want to share, I am curious. Again, it closes December 14th, so you have some time, but not all the time in the world. I'll have the survey linked in the description along with the forum thread where the community has been discussing all of this. Definitely worth reading through if you want to see what other players are saying about it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy real simming, guys.